Hey friends, welcome to this episode of Friend Fusion. Today, friend, we're going to discuss something that we have all encountered, and that is criticism. And let's just be honest, it's not always constructive. Most of the time, it's destructive. How do we navigate that, especially as believers? How do we walk through fire with love, still reflecting God, still trying to extend grace and compassion to others because we understand we also need it? The truth is, that's ghetto. It's extremely difficult. But on this episode of Friend Fusion today, we're going to learn what it means to walk through fire the Christ way and normalize that as a believer, you just might be criticized. Stay tuned for this episode of Friend Fusion. Hey friends, welcome to this episode of Friend Fusion. I'm your host, Trinity Mitchell, better known as your friend Trin. And welcome to this set. Friend, today we're going to talk about criticism, something that we have all endured. And sometimes it's just hard, it's heavy, and it leaves us, to be just very honest with you, not wanting to be bothered with anybody. I have with me my friend, our friend. I want you guys to welcome to the set of Friend Fusion, the most criticized woman I know. Jackie Hill Perry.
That's wild. Praise God.
Was that not a good one?
I don't think I'm that, but
when I think about people, this is so funny, Jackie, because when I think about people like in this generation with a voice and a platform that are so valuable to us, yet so like not people don't get it, like they don't find value in it. It baffles me. I think of you.
Well, I'm curious. What is the criticism you've seen?
So many things. What do you want me to start?
I don't know, because I might not even be privy to everything that you're aware of.
So, like, you can just be scrolling on social media, anything, and because I'm engaged with your content, somebody's like, Jackie Hill Perry. I don't know, maybe a false prophet. Maybe you got a crush on Meg.
A witch.
A witch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's just kind of crazy. It's just a lot of things.
Yeah.
I see you show up the way that you do, and I think that's really admirable. And challenging at the same time, like extremely challenging. So I want you to unpack for me your sabbatical, because I think it was necessary. And you taught me something in it. And that was, it's okay to step away with as much impact as you guys have, the shows people are looking forward to. It's almost like people like leaning on you for something every day in some regard. So to see you step away, it said to me that it's okay to like own that you need a break. Like it's time. And I remember in your last interview before, well, I don't know if it was your last, but the Jars of Clay with Meg, you guys were talking about, you were looking forward to your sabbatical, like bringing you some calmness. Did it bring you calmness?
Yeah. I mean, last year was extremely fruitful, but it was also just extremely draining, I think, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and all the things. And so I think the sabbatical was like, at the end of the day, it was two things. It was, Jesus would often withdraw into desolate places to pray and meet with his Father. All the time, you see that in the Gospels, where at times when he could have leaned into greater depths of ministry, he would disappear. And so I think ministers have to have a rhythm of rest and Sabbath just for their souls, so that's that. And then I think on the other end, the criticism was wearing on me and making me feel a type of way. And I feel like when you carry bitterness and offense, that will end up coming through in your ministry, where you'll start angling certain conversations or certain texts in the direction of people in a way where the motive is actually off. It's like you trying to get your lick back. but you're trying to sanctify it and make it seem as if you're just addressing and stuff. When it's like, no, you're mad.
Just
and
good.
so I didn't want that to come through in my ministry. So I knew I needed to get with the Father. Yeah.
So the episode that y'all didn't release. I remember Megan saying something about you felt like your heart wasn't in the right place.
It
Was some of that there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was coming for false teaching, which I do in general because the Bible does, right? But there was a quality to it that didn't feel good when I was done with the interview, where I was like, why do I feel unrest? What is that? And so I prayed and I talked to Dr. Sarita about it to process what I was feeling. And I found this text where God or Jesus is talking to, he is God, but Jesus is talking to the sons of thunder and how they wanted to rain down lightning on their enemies. And they wanted to rain down lightning on their enemies, not because they cared about God's glory, but because they were mad at them. And so it was like they came to Jesus on some like, nah, like we need to do the right thing. And so like, I think from the outside looking in, it could be like, oh, this person is addressing unrighteousness. But if you're addressing unrighteousness from an unrighteous place, then you're actually the same person you're mad at. And so I felt like it would be.
If you're addressing unrighteousness
from an unrighteous place.
And you're actually the person you're mad
y'all
at.
Twinning. It's the same thing.
That's
and so
good.
I felt like, I want to be honorable, because when you're also in leadership, people are mirroring and modeling everything you do. And so I do not want to be coming for people or addressing stuff in a way, one, that doesn't honor God and that trains people to not honor God in the way they tell truth. So, yeah.
So tell me some things that may have been released that you took a second guess at, like, maybe I shouldn't have said that like that.
You trying to get the episode?
I don't know.
Again, I think from the outside looking in, you wouldn't have known.
Okay, got you.
That it was problematic. It was conviction. It was the Lord knows.
Okay, got you.
And so because he knows, I cannot in good conscience air that out.
I understand that. Yeah. So now that you've come to the other side of this sabbatical, right? What has been the greatest lesson from your sabbatical?
Maybe, I don't know. I think the quiet and the boredom showed me parts of myself I wouldn't have seen while I was too busy. Because I think silence and quiet forces you to deal with things that come up. For example, I said this on Instagram Live. It's like if you have your phone to scroll on in downtime, your phone is constantly distracting you from yourself. And so if in a, I don't know, if when you on a plane, you know what I'm saying, and all you got is scripture or solitaire and silence, your heart has the ability to surface things that you need to deal with. And so I think I just became way more clear about who I was and the things that the Lord wanted me to address.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So what are some things that you are willing to share that you've addressed during your sabbatical?
Abstractly, I think I'm just a very thirsty, needy person. I think there are parts of me that just need the Lord, but like C.S. Lewis talks about how we're so easily satisfied. It's like whether it's the phone, whether it's ministry, whether it's relationships, whether it's some of the liberties that we take, whether that's alcohol, like good things can become really bad things to us when we don't deal with the fact that we want God most. And so I think the Lord has just been showing me elements of me where you know what's right, you know what's good, you know what's true, but there are parts of me you simply don't believe, so you don't lean in the direction of righteousness or faithfulness in these areas. And I think the longer you walk with the Lord, it can be easy to feel like, well, I'll let that go. So I'm not that bad. Like, I'm not out here getting high. I'm not out here committing adultery. I'm not out here watching porn. I'm not out here stealing and thieving. But it's just like, but to whom much is given, much is required. So there are parts of your life that still need to tighten up because I said so. And so I think the fast did that.
Oh, yeah. I saw some clips
of the fast and the sabbatical. Fasting from people and things.
You fasted from people too?
I mean, to not be in ministry, to not do podcasts, stuff like that.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you breaking your fast with me?
I mean, I broke it. I think January.
Welcome, friends.
Hello. Greetings. How are you?
So how was the fast for you? Because let me be honest. I felt a little convicted in one of y'all clips. Cut that out.
What
Don't
clip?
convict me.
Me and Preston?
Yeah. I don't like that kind of care now. Don't convict me.
I apologize.
I just had a baby. I'm not thinking about fasting, Jackie.
What convicted you?
Some of y'all was talking about
like lift weights and
fasting.
stuff? Don't you?
Yeah.
So fasting should be like a thing.
It is a thing for me.
Okay.
But I have not. Okay, so it is a thing for me, but I have to really, my fasting has to be water fast.
Okay.
Because of my regular lifestyle. You know what I mean? And I have not had a water fast since before I got pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't eat crazy and stuff like that anyway. The eating till 6 o'clock or something, I can do that, you know. But I have not had a real fast where it's just me and a water bottle since I had BJ. But I felt convicted in watching y'all talk about fasting and how just having that intimate time with God has ignited y'all's relationship. It's almost because fasting almost reintroduces you to God.
Yeah.
You know? And so I have not had a reintroduction since I've become somebody's mama. And I'm like, I need to fast.
Yeah. And I mean, because you got one child, I think it's exhausting to be a mother. You know what I'm saying? It's tiresome. Like you just trying to sleep consistently. And so I could see how that's just the farthest thing from your mind is fasting. But I would argue that there are elements of your parenting that would shift if you fasted.
Absolutely.
You know, the direction of your prayers, things like that.
So I'm looking forward to, I appreciate the conviction. It startled me for a second, but I'm like, I need to, I was telling a friend after watching it, I don't remember particularly what you guys were saying in the clip, but it was just the topic of fasting. And you were sharing how just the impact it's had on you. And I'm like, I need to, I want to taste that again. It's different. People don't understand. It's so different. Because some people, they will, and I'm not coming for anybody. If God meets you there, you mind your business, I'll mind my business. But some people, they call fasting getting off social media.
Yeah.
You know,
that's light.
Yeah, that's not a fast.
Light.
That is not, to me, I will say this, to me, that is not a fast. That's abstinence. You know, because Jesus did not fast from people and stuff. He fasted from food. And you just pray different when you're hungry.
Yeah, you do.
Because all you got is prayer to fill you up, you know?
Because it weakens you physically.
Yes.
Getting off social media is good. I do think we should fast from social media and things like that.
Yeah.
But when you're not eating, bro, it's just, it's a different type of thing.
You lean on God in a way that you never have before. You really need him for your every breath. Especially, I did a 10-day water fast.
Okay.
Head was just big. Bless God.
Okay. I ain't never did 10 days.
Yeah.
I might start glowing in the face.
Yeah. It was a challenge, but it changed. It changed the trajectory of my life. I think everything about me changed. Everything, that particular fast, everything about me changed. And I'm looking forward to, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'll wear you about it in the near future. Cause I do want to, you know, when I eat how I eat and stuff like that, it's just ain't I just need to I'm fasting and I'm intentionally praying and fasting because I could just go all day and do all the things and I haven't eaten.
Yeah.
But I want to intentionally set time to pray and to really seek God and open up my word. And I also appreciate you for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's critical because I shared in the podcast how previous fast I did, I would abstain from food but not replace it. And so it's I would not eat the meal, but then be on my phone all day, or not eat the meal, or be on YouTube, or not eat the meal. I was busying myself still with the world, and not to say the world in a sinful way, but things that are not actually pushing me into intimacy with the Lord. And so I think, don't just fast to say you fasting. You actually have to seek God in the fast for the fast to actually do what fasts are meant to do.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it that way, you're literally wasting your life.
I love that you said what fasting is meant to do. So let's unpack that before we get into all the criticism. So let's unpack that before we get into all the criticism. What is fasting meant to do?
I think fasting is a reorienting. It's a refocusing our mind, our hearts, our souls, our affections on God. And it's us eliminating those things that can kind of keep us from looking at him as bread. I think Jesus is being very intentional to call himself bread, to call himself food, to say, I am the bread of life. Those who eat of me will never hunger. And I think fasting puts you in a position to physically and spiritually experience that. When you eliminate food out of the picture, it weakens your body. But the truth is your soul is always weak. And so I think to experience that physical weakness reminds you of soul weakness, which then pushes you into dependence on God. And I think when you come out of the fast, it's a reflection of, oh, that's how you want me to live all the time. So I think we primarily look at fasting as means of petition, which it can be. I'm a fast for this. I'm a fast for her. And we should. You got Esther fasted for stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, alongside the petition has to be seeking his face, so that when he does give you the thing, you don't want the thing more than you want God. And so that's it. I don't know if that made any sense, but
when you start preaching, you always stop.
Because
It was the hands
I
for
started
me.
to get insecure, so I didn't know.
What?
Yeah, I started to get anxious
Why did you begin to become insecure?
because I didn't know I have a thing where if I'm not making sense, it discourages me. So I didn't know if I was making sense.
Yes,
which
you
makes
made
me
a lot of sense.
pull back.
Yeah, you made a lot of sense. And I wanted to, I told you that this conversation was going to be about criticism, but I don't know. My heart is I'm sitting this fasting right now. So let's talk about practical steps, because a lot of my friends, I'm telling you right now, Jackie, like I feel like
calling the people that listen to you
watching,
friends?
they my friends.
Okay.
And then like y'all friends, like they saved. My friends getting there.
Okay. Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
All right. All right.
So let's talk practical steps with fasting. For me, when I really started like getting into fasting, I think it was 2017 or so. And so what I would do is I would fast. Well, I'm a church kid. I was born and raised Church of God in Christ. So I know about fasting, shut-ins, all the carrying on. But for myself as an adult, I think I really started 2016, 2017 somewhere. And I would start small. Maybe I'll do like till lunchtime. Because at this point I'm working out now, so I'm up at like 5 a.m. So I'll maybe fast until lunch. Sometimes I'll go until like 5 or 6 o'clock that evening, and I just started like doing baby things until I like built up what would be the word? The bandwidth to fast?
Stamina.
The stamina. Yeah, I had to build my stamina to like so. I did little things like that to increase my my stamina to be able to fast. What about you? Like, how did you start? Did you start like all in?
Yeah, I mean, our church's fast was 7 days. The longest I ever did was 3 days, and I did that in 2008. So there was no stamina built up.
Got you.
But I think it was like either you do it or you don't. So I think stamina can be helpful. I think people who also have certain, like, you got diabetes or you breastfeeding, I think you have to pray and ask the Lord how you can fast in such a way that doesn't compromise your health.
Right.
And so, like, I had a friend who wanted to fast for something, and she was breastfeeding, and I was like, well, ask the Lord what you can cut that would hurt. And she was like, the Lord showed her sugar. Cool, cut it out. You know what I'm saying? And so there's something you could cut that's going to hurt you, that's going to weaken you. I think so. One step is identifying what level of fast can you do that isn't easy. I think as long as it's easy, you're not actually going to get the degree of revelation.
Yeah.
And by revelation, I don't even mean this super like, oh, this is your season, this is your I mean revelation, like you see God.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see yourself, you see truth. I think as long as it's easy, if it does not cost you something, then I don't think that's the fast that God is requiring of you. I think too, identify those times in your day when you would be eating, spend time in the scriptures.
Yeah.
So if it's lunchtime, get in your Bible. If it's dinner time, listen to an audiobook while you're bathing your baby, whatever it is, like get as much word in you. And then have a lot of honest conversation with the Lord. Show me my heart.
Yeah.
Help me see me. Help me see you. And if you want to tack a petition on there, do that.
Yeah.
And be okay and willing to accept if the petition that you made is actually not the will of God.
Yeah.
I think that is great. and repent, stuff like that. Don't be going to the club. Like, don't fast. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I mean, don't fast and then put yourself in compromising positions where, one, the fast becomes harder, or two, the fast becomes ineffective because of the community you're around or the opportunities that you've denied. I don't know.
That's good stuff. Stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay, so let's pivot to the criticism, because I feel like I'm a student of other people's lives immediately. Like when I come to know of them, I just become a student.
Okay.
And so I've learned from you how to walk through fire. Like how to literally walk through fire, still show up, still be, even with like kind. And when it, like, you don't want to be, probably, you know, but I really I appreciate that of you so much, because I know I'm not built like that, but I want to be.
How are you built?
I'm going to cuss you out.
I'm intrigued. How are you built?
I'm going to cuss you out.
Oh, you're a fighter. That's what you mean.
You think I'm a fighter? I think I'm going to just cuss you out.
Oh, okay. You're a verbal fighter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. I'm past the place in my life where I've never been I can't even say past it. I'm not a person that's on the internet going back and forth with a stranger. Because my time in my life is so valuable to me. But at the same time, in real life, in real time, if you try me, that's my truth. Like, I'm just keeping it 100. Like, I would not be friendly towards you, like, at all.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think how people handle criticism it will reveal who you are. You know, because like that, whatever that default response is that thing that God also might be sending criticism for you to crucify. You know, and so if the default is to curse somebody out, which would be vengeance, then the Lord would be saying you have a vengeance problem.
Ooh, spicy.
And so it isn't simply, you know, that the critics have issues, is that you also have issues. And the criticism is revealing that.
Yeah. So the Lord revealed that to me too in offense, because I used to carry offense deeply. But I was praying about it, and the Lord just revealed to me He's not just trying to. I think as believers, we want God to reveal their hearts to us. God, show me them, you know. But I think in offense, and depending on what the situation is, the conflict is, whatever it is, I think God is not just exposing their heart, but He's also exposing your heart to you.
Yeah.
And so once I learned it, I'm like, you know what, God, I repent. I reckon I repent, because you know what? If had I not experienced this, then I wouldn't know that was actually in my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've grown, but I'm still really challenged. I don't face nothing like you faced. I haven't, like, seriously, I have not gotten there yet. I know it's coming. That's just what comes with the territory, right? But you know, I'm just not I don't know. I'm not gonna pray about it.
You gotta pray
Jackie,
about it. You gotta pray about it.
If you, because I just, but you know, you're right. At the end of the day,
you got to pray about it.
You're absolutely right.
This is the thing that it's difficult for me. It's really hard for me, because it's not as if I'm not human, right? And so I'm a human being.
Yeah.
And so comments hurt, videos that are slanderous hurt, especially when it's done in the name of God and so-called prophecy. I think that's difficult.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, I follow a Christ who loved his enemies. I follow a Jesus who prayed for people that were crucifying him.
Yeah.
And so it feels, and it is, I don't have the option but to model him in that way. And I think Christians really have to get it in their system that we are also called to share in his sufferings. And so at any point where you are, and I'm not saying criticize correctly, because some criticisms I received have been legitimate, and I've responded and learned from that. You know what I'm saying? I misspoke, or I said something too harshly, or I didn't say anything, something with nuance, or I lack wisdom, because criticism can teach you how to be a better leader, how to be a better servant. But the criticism that's undue for the name of Christ, that type of stuff is where you actually identify with his sufferings and say, oh, I get it. I can get a glimpse of how it felt for you to be you.
Mm-hmm.
And that drives me into the fact that he is my great high priest. And so you because I'm sharing in your sufferings, I also can receive comfort from you in these sufferings because you're my great high priest. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like I think we have to have a biblical framework of all it is, or we will not succeed.
Yeah.
If you want to be faithful. If you just want to do whatever you want to do, cool, whatever. But if you want to be faithful, the Bible has to drive the way we understand all of this.
Yeah. Speaking of being faithful, so I come to know you at Pine Lake. That's a multicultural church. In Mississippi, it's mostly white.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like speckled with myself and Brandon, and then like a few of us. You know, we were serving there, and it was so crazy to me with all this time in Black church.
Mm-hmm.
I had never known of Jackie Hill Perry, and I would like to think that I'm pretty like tapped in.
Yeah.
What was that about? Can you just walk me through your journey? Like how? I mean, you was on that side, and then it's like you and our side, and then it's like you on all the sides. But I was just felt so lost. Like, how don't I know? My white friend introduced me to Jackie Hill Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I started in ministry, I started as a poet. And so I primarily did poetry in Black churches, at youth conferences, almost always youth conferences, because, you know, grown-ups don't care about no poetry. And so I was primarily in Black spaces from that. Mm-hmm. But then when I wrote my book, that kind of opened up doors in more white evangelical spaces, where I just did a lot in that world for a season. Mm-hmm. And then when I started to make the decision to kind of divest from participating in spaces that did not love Black people, that then opened up wider doors for me to be all over the place. And so I think the Lord showed me a couple of years ago, he was like, I've just given you favor with all men. Yeah. And so it isn't white church, Black church, It's simply, I want the gospel to go forth into all nations. And I'm just using you to do that.
This going to be a crazy question, but what has been like your DEI experience in?
What's that? That's the thing that Trump was trying to shut down. Yes. Oh, you got to explain that. I don't know.
So that is, you shouldn't ask me that. So it's equity and inclusion. What's the D? Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
Right? So the reason why, you want me to explain it to you fully?
Or how you're applying it to the question.
Okay. Yeah. So when you said, when you decided to divest yourself from places that did not exactly accept you as a Black woman, what were some of your DEI experiences in it?
If I hear what you're saying,
you feel like my question is horrible? It's
not horrible, no.
Okay, let me see.
I could just be, not comprehending. I think in those worlds, they have a lot of blind spots. And they love you when you are communicating what they love. And they don't love you when you are communicating what they don't love. And so I said this on the Craze podcast, when I was communicating truth about the lesbian community and same-sex attraction and repentance of sin and you got all these people that got these gay kids. And so they're like, yay, a culturally relevant person telling our kids to stop being gay. We love her. Like, she's advocating for family. She's advocating for submission and complementarianism. She's advocating for all the things. But then when George Floyd died, and with Sandra Bland died, and when Mike Brown died, and when there was all these murders, I'm like, okay, we also gotta honor human dignity. We also gotta honor human life. We also gotta advocate not just for the unborn, but for the born that y'all keep killing. And so I think when I started to advocate for justice, which is also a biblical and theological idea, that's when they started to treat me like crazy. And so I'm cool on adding, I'm just cool on creating opportunities, one, for people to play in my face and the Lord's face. And I don't want to continue to affirm with my presence ministries that don't love God with their whole heart. To me, that's a love issue. And so that was my experience. And that's why I kind of opted out on some of them places.
Yeah. You mentioned in another interview I was listening to how Eden was about to get on YouTube or something. and you stopped her from watching a clip about you, she thought the clip was going to be about you teaching.
She thought it was me teaching.
Yeah.
But it was criticism.
Yeah. So how have you been able to do that, like, as a mom? It's so, I mean, that's such a rare experience where, because everybody's mama to them is like that superhero, So how has that affected you? How has that affected you where you have to literally protect your children from people's criticism of you?
At the time, it was frustrating. It was even isolating because I was like, this is just not, I don't think this is an experience most people understand. And so it's like, I felt alone, but it felt really unique. And I think it felt frustrating, but that's the reality of things, because I think it's allowed me to empathize with my daughter when she was sharing how, she was in class and she was like, all they want to do is talk about TikTok because they all got phones. My children don't have phones. And she was like, I just want to talk about books. And there was this sense where she felt left out. She felt alone because there's this majority of people having these experiences that she can't share in. And I think I can feel alone. I can feel left out when it feels like naturally my bent is to want to be included. My bent is to want to be accepted, but God has not called me to that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I told her, I was like, this is a great opportunity for you to lean into the fact that you won't always fit in, period. And if you can understand and learn to be content with not fitting in now, then when God has called you to speak out against things in your generation, you've already been trained to know how to handle that. And so I think, I just look at it as a teaching opportunity rather than something to be bitter about.
Yeah. Speaking of fitting in, you have had so much criticism around friendship. You can't be nobody. I tell you, I'm still working on cussing. You can't be nobody doggone friend.
Yeah.
And Brandon will tell you, I have so much compassion for you in that, because first of all, friendship is really dear to me. And I know how intimate it is for us as women. I think it's intimate for all of us, but we are more expressive. And so when you and Megan were walking through all of that criticism and all of that it was just so annoying. As often as I could remember to encourage Meg, I would stop and do so. But I felt it's so unfair for you. Like, I felt sorry for Meg, but my heart was heavier for you because it was like, how would I say this? Because I've been gay, I can't never have friends again.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to everybody, or and you supposed to, I don't want no ugly friends. You gotta have, y'all would only trust me to have friends that she was dusty. That's crazy.
That is the reality.
For that's real.
Yeah.
Seriously. So I can't even who want to walk around with somebody that's not?
Some people are just not universally attractive. They got beautiful things about them. Their minds are beautiful.
I want pretty friends.
Okay.
You can go somewhere with me. You cute friend. Some people can't go nowhere with me.
I try to look like something.
And you be smelling good.
Praise God.
And for those watching, she smell like a girl.
Jesus. What else I smell like?
They get on my nerves.
What?
They think you got on cologne. I don't know. Yeah, I did. See?
That's crazy.
I have had my share of defense for you, Jackie.
I appreciate it.
As you can tell. But tell me, how have you walked through that? Because I think it's a very unique situation where friendship for so many women, we love to see it. It's so beautiful to us. And then when two women from two different walks of life, right? We all know missionary Meg and all the things that God has bestowed upon her. We know your journey. And I guess maybe the previous backgrounds of what people think they know and all the things. How have you been able to navigate not even just your friendship with Meg, but other women? Where is it hard for you to have, just unpack that for me?
There's so much to say. Friendship in general is not easy for me. And I think people would think it's not easy because I was a lesbian or something. It's not easy just because I didn't have friends. I was only child technically, so I was always by myself. When I was in school, I was quiet. I was quirky. I was internal. And so those kids don't tend to be the most popular.
You were a poet. You were writing and stuff?
Yeah, I didn't know yet.
Yeah.
You know, I was curious. My mama put me in TJ Maxx clothes, so I didn't have the cool clothes. Like I didn't have all the aesthetics that would create opportunities for me to be a cool kid. So I need
a picture to insert of the TJ Maxx.
I'll show you.
Okay.
I just was really, I wasn't a cool kid. I wasn't, on top of being shy, on top of being timid. And then in third grade, I was bullied because I went to a new school. And on the first day of class, I started crying because I was overwhelmed and overstimulated and all the things. And so now they looking at me like, oh, she a lame, she this. And so it's how I grew up that has made friendship hard, not merely the things that God has delivered me from.
Yeah.
And so it just feels, I think friendship is scary for me. And when you add on now, when I become a Christian, somehow I become the cool kid. I still internally don't feel that way, but I know how to project that way. I know how to, have an affect of coolness. I do think I'm cool, but at the same time, it's just like, it gets weird now that your gift draws people. Your gift has made you popular. And so it feels now that everybody that comes to me is insincere. It feels like, why do you want to be my friend? If I did not have this gift, if I did not communicate, if I did not have this platform, would you actually love me? I don't know. That's always the question I'm asking myself. And so when it comes to all of the pushback with me and Megan, I anticipated it because one, a lot of that was warfare. I'm not ignorant to what was happening. We have Acts 2:42 coming up, or we did a discipleship conference with 7,000 people where we are giving them truth in a society and in a generation whose ears are itching, right? And so naturally, Satan is going to raise up demonic opposition to the leaders of a mission. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? And so I think knowing that, oh, this is just evil. And you got people who are just slaves of sin, where to the pure, all things are pure. Y'all ain't pure. Yeah. And so your perceptions and your frameworks are rooted in how you would move. And so
exactly.
I think I think it's a lot there. I think we see the same thing with the way people tend to interpret David and Jonathan's relationship. Like you have people who are so committed and convinced that these men were gay because they loved one another. Yeah. But that says more about your heart than it says about your theological framework. It means that your heart is wicked, that you cannot see that two same-sex people can actually have genuine and pure, authentic affection for each other. And so, I don't know. I think I'm just not ignorant to the enemy's schemes, nor am I ignorant to the hearts of man and how it bends in a direction of untruth. And so it was and can be discouraging, but it is what it is.
When I first met you, I said, Jackie, I want to be my friend.
I don't want to be a lot of people's
Jackie,
friend.
You ain't got to be that stinky, though. Don't nobody want me. I don't want to share her that hard. Jackie tell my son, I don't really do hugs. Girl, it tastes to me like that again.
I'm sorry. So you think I was mean?
No, I don't think he was mean. I didn't think he was stinky.
You thought I was stinky?
Yeah, that's stinky. Well, not like she's not stinky, everybody.
What's stinky?
I don't do hugs. When you know I'm a hugger, clearly. You can look at me until I want to hug.
I don't recall saying that.
You said it, girl.
I don't. Are you sure I said that?
Yeah, say you sorry.
I don't remember. It. I feel gaslit. I don't think I said that.
You said I don't like.
I said that at Acts.
Yes.
Okay. I apologize.
And I did forgive you instantly because I said, they walking through a lot right now. It's a lot. They don't trust people. They don't like people. They tired.
If I did say that, then I apologize for it.
And I guess that's why I want your little friend.
Oh, you think I'm possessive?
I think so.
I'm protective. I'm not possessive.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm protective. But I think what people might be getting from me is just a guardedness.
Yeah, I think so. But I don't think that you are as... Okay, so I feel like because you don't trust people a lot, I feel like you lead in a way where they don't even want to know you because you don't want to know them. So I'm going to present myself this, but you're not like that. I really don't feel like you're like that. I feel like that's your way that you protect yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all a self-protective mechanism. So I need therapy. I ain't even gonna excuse it. It's just, I think it's hard. I think when you have been wounded by people, when you have been betrayed by people, when you have people around you that just genuinely don't want you, that don't love you, it is really difficult.
Yeah.
And so I have not yet found the secret of being able to, and I am discerning at the same time. And so some of the guardedness is that I legitimately do see through people. And so I haven't figured out that balance of how to see through, how to deal with trauma. So what you see through
me when you tell me something I don't want to do no hug?
This episode is great, right, friend? I know. Join me for more episodes just like this one in my Patreon community. That's patreon.com/yourfriendtrend. I cannot wait to connect with you in real time.
So what you see through me when you tell me something I don't want to do no hug?
X was a lie. I don't care.
Know. What you see? What you trying to say? Get my earring.
I think overly friendly people scare me.
Okay.
I think you're very friendly, and that gives me a lot of anxiety.
Do you think I'm overly friendly, or do you think I'm like country? Because I don't know if I'm overly friendly, friend.
I do think you're friendly.
I'm friendly, but I'm not I'm real country.
It seems like you really like people, and you like being around people.
You don't know me very well.
I don't. We see in the mirror dimly. I don't know. I'm just saying, when people are like a lot, it's a lot. Because in my mind, it's like you and Meg are cool. That doesn't automatically mean that I have to be cool.
I'm over the same way for sure. Yeah, so. But I think so I feel like I'm country. Okay. So when I say country is very we're hospitable people. We're very welcoming and warm people.
Yeah,
and we can do that while you can think you know me. The whole time I do not fool with you.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
Okay, I'll teach you.
Yeah, I can't do that. I don't want to because I want people to know exactly where we are.
No, but you can do that. So the hospitable country flair is, there's no extra effort, if that makes any sense.
The way y'all be smiling at people, that's a lot.
No, that's just your mama taught you that. Like we in Walmart, if I go in Walmart right now in Mississippi, you saying hi to people that you don't know.
Yeah, St. Louis don't move like that.
Yeah, we're just country. I think
everybody in St. Louis is like everybody is a suspect.
Got you.
Everybody is a suspect. So I'm only giving energy to it, and I'm not even saying this is godly. I'm saying I think this is flesh, and I think it's culture.
Yeah.
But everybody is a suspect until you prove that you're innocent.
Yeah.
And when you prove that you're innocent is when you get access to the personality that you thought you know what I'm saying? Like to me, it's the people that I trust, that I love and know love me, that get access to those parts of me.
Yeah. So everybody don't get the access. I think it's just you say you're always smiling at people. That is hilarious to me.
You just every time I see you, you're smiling. So I love that. I'm glad that you're free in that way.
Yeah, but
I can grow in that level of freedom. I have not yet.
I think it's just a part of being from Mississippi. Yeah, because I'm not really open to people. I have the same friends since college. I have a few newer friends. Megan is one of those people, but I'm really I'm very protective of my space. I'm a loner.
Okay.
And then teaching friendship is from a place of failure, not wanting to be people's friends. So that's the funny thing about me. Teaching friendship is from me really dropping the ball with my best friend. I'm trying to punish her, and she ended up passing away. That's my story. And so that was the moment for me where I had this epiphany. I was a really bad friend. And then I always desired healthy connection and relationships just from my upbringing. My dad was a compulsive liar. People didn't trust him, didn't like him. And then, as his kid, sometimes I would get the benefit of, not the benefit, but people would treat me like that. I was his child in terms of, where your lying dad at? Or just stuff like that, just messy stuff that adults would do. And so it made me want to treat people well. Seriously. So my smile is from a place of people having no issue with you as a little kid, church folks and stuff, and they just being literally mean as hell to you because your daddy, or whatever. And so that stirred a desire in me to treat people well, to make people feel loved, seen, truly cared for.
Yeah.
I felt like this before it was even language around this. I just wanted people I wanted to normalize healthy and functional relationship. And I'm not even a person I don't even think you have to be all in with people. You're going to got to know their business and have full access to their life to treat them well. And I think a smile is warm and it says, I see you.
That's
and you
beautiful.
make me smile.
That's beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that.
True.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
And I'm big on how people okay. This could be very different for each person. It might be because I'm from Mississippi. It might be just a culture thing. But like, if you walk in the room, like if y'all walked in today and I'm just, hey, it's stinky.
Mm-hmm. So that's what you said I was giving.
Because I'm a Mississippi
Because we got to circle back around.
Yeah.
So that's what I was giving.
Yeah. But you want to give me like stink, like I don't want to be bothered stink. It was stinky like, I don't want no hug now. Leave me alone without that hug and care now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, man. We doing this interview. I worked hard at because I do think that, and this isn't a defense, it will sound like one, but it is clarity on my personality.
Absolutely.
I think I also have a kind of monotone, chill, underwhelming affect. And so I think sometimes I wonder if people are assuming that because I'm not nice, I'm not being kind, when that's actually not true, you know, because niceness is like, hey, I'm literally never gonna, the loudest you will see me be usually is when I'm preaching.
Yeah.
And so I just always wondered, like, I think sometimes I feel this pressure that I have to do exceedingly and abundantly above to the point that it's unnatural, just so people don't judge that what's actually natural is not what it isn't. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I apologize if it came off stinky, but it really was, I'm sure it was from a genuine, I'm sure it was a godly place.
But we hugged another time.
You said what?
We hugged another time.
Yeah, when you had on the purple boots.
Purple boots, girl.
They're memorable.
Okay, girls. Yeah. Like, what you talking about? The purple
go back
boots?
to March 8th.
That's hilarious. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. Speaking of boots and the outer appearance, the girls give you a hard time. They feel like your image, your look, your jeans, or like your hat. So like I feel like they use your appearance to discredit your transformation.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean,
because you know what I find is, well, you know, people gonna people at the end of the day. But I think it's so interesting that because I have a certain preference of how I want to show up, you know, like for me, because I played basketball growing up. I'm naturally I'm a tomboy. I like all the things apparently. But I have moments, maybe because I don't have a previous lifestyle. It's your transparency that make people think they know you. That's what it is. I'm having a revelation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is.
Because even like when I have on like a cap or like I have on like even with my haircut, I don't get, you know, are you a lesbian or something like that,
right.
You know? So how have you navigated that criticism with people who, I feel like they do it to discredit your transformation?
Yeah. I think some of it is, I'm not going to say legitimate. I think some of it is natural, especially in this social media age where you see content that's very much before after. And so you see studs come to the faith and the before is like, you know, they got the boxers and the saggy pants and da-da-da. And then the after is they got a press and curl. I don't know what you call it.
A fitted dress.
Yeah, it's like hyper feminine. And so I think we've stained it in our minds that deliverance looks a certain kind of way.
That's good.
It has a certain kind of aesthetic. And I think, again, some of that is fair. I think if a man who might have been hyper feminine in the world comes to faith, I should expect that the sanctification process should be a returning to or an embracing of masculinity in some way. But I also think it's problematic when you have a frame of what femininity and what masculinity is, and you're projecting that skeleton onto me. And so, you know, if I wear Dickies, then that's somehow indicative of my soul. But if I wear, I got, you know, I preached at a conference where I got on some really tight pants, and that was a problem. And so it also feels like I really can't do anything. And truthfully, honestly, until Preston Perry has a problem, I'm really not concerned. You get what I'm saying? Like he has no problem with my style. He loves it. He enjoys it. So here we are.
Yes, 4 kids later.
Correct.
Jackie, you was hunching. Why do you have
Wow.
4? Girl, why do you got 4 kids, girl? That's insane, girl. Jackie, you got 4 kids in 2025.
I do.
How old are you?
35.
Jackie. I mean, I love it for y'all. I think it's so
You wanna grab
beautiful.
it?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
But y'all babies are, first of all, they are so beautiful.
Thank you.
It's just the chocolate. I just think they are so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm always so tickled, like, because it is so, I don't know, it's so separate from your personality to have 4 kids. It's so fun. How do you do that? Like, what is Jackie like as a mom? We know what Jackie is like as a teacher. We know what you're like, even as a friend, you're protective, right? Very caring, very honest. That's what I get from you. And I feel like even just as a person, like, Jackie is not about to, like you said, I'm not going to be smiling at you and care now. I'm going to say hi, whatever.
I'm gonna keep
But
it cute.
what is Jackie like as a mom?
I am continuing to learn how to be a mother. I think motherhood is difficult for many reasons, but I think for me, it has a level of difficulty because the Lord is requiring, like, the kind of mothering he's requiring of me is a mothering I didn't receive. And so it's like I'm trying to be something I don't have a model for.
Wow.
And so I think I'm a weak mother. You know, I'm a dependent mother. I'm a prayerful mother. I think I'm not the cutesy mother. I'm not finna hang out with y'all. I'm not finna take y'all to the park all the time. I'm not finna, make cookies and all the things. But I'm cool with y'all being in my space.
Yeah.
I'm cool with you climbing on top of me and asking me 1,000 questions. I'm cool with y'all. Like, my kids stay in my room because there's this element where I believe that a part of what I want to cultivate is, even if we don't talk, I want us to be around each other. I want us to be okay with that, so that when they're 20, 30, 40, there's still this desire to just be around and not just meet each other as siblings.
Yeah.
And so I'm a discerning mother. The Lord is constantly showing me things about my children that I need to pray for in advance. And so I'm always processing, thinking, what seeds can I plant now in anticipation of the temptations that you'll have then?
Wow.
And so I'm not ignorant to what they will struggle with, that they have no awareness of now.
That's good.
Stuff like that.
Because you're already interceding.
Got to.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Because I mean, the same warfare on us is on them. The enemy is playing for keeps. And there is no way that me and Preston are going to be first generation Christians in this capacity in our families. And there is not going to be an extreme and intense attack on our children, especially when our children carry our same genes and therefore are bent in the same direction ministry wise, whether that's creativity, whether that's discernment, whether that's evangelism, whether that's teaching. They're going to have those same giftings. And so he wants them to be destroyed. And I'm not ignorant of that.
Speaking of picking it back to criticism, what criticism have you received most recently from one of them?
My kids?
Yeah. Because kids criticize you.
Probably Eden saying that I didn't care about something because she wanted me to tell Autumn to do something. And I was like, I'm not worried about that right now. And then she ran and was like, Mommy doesn't even care. And I was like, if I didn't care, you wouldn't have a house. If I didn't care, you wouldn't have dinner. If I didn't care, you wouldn't have clothes. Like, let's be clear. But Eden has she has a justice bent and she has a strong memory. And so I realized she said that I didn't care because maybe 6 months ago, 3 months ago, I often will say, I don't care, because it's like they always got an issue. There's always some type of tension. And so she's kind of taken that to heart, that what she cares about, I don't care about.
Gotcha.
So which told me that I need to stop saying that because the enemy is going to twist that thing in her mind and make her think that I actually don't care about stuff that I should care about.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good revelation too.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So during the sabbatical, I'm sure that you and Preston were able to, reconnect, all the things. You guys work together. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So how was it for you guys in terms of, like, ignoring the criticism, ignoring the noise, focusing in on your spiritual, your mental, your emotional health?
Yeah.
I saw you guys had a beautiful trip at some point. How was all of that?
I mean, marriage is hard. It's beautiful, but it's hard. And I think the sabbatical wasn't any different than what we've been doing as far as trying to work on us, trying to work on ourselves as individuals. I think if we want to talk about criticism, I think the interesting thing about marriage is how much you have to guard yourself from criticizing your spouse. And because the more you criticize your spouse in your heart and your mind, you're going to move that way. And the Lord really just had to show me, like, you need to change how you think about Preston.
That's good.
Like, literally actively. How are you actively thinking about him? Because the way you actively think about him shows up in the way you treat him.
That's so
and
good.
The way you pray for him and the way you discuss him with your friends. And so I think I'm learning how critical I can be about him and vice versa, and how some of that is fear, some of that is flesh, some of that are implanted thoughts about your spouse that you actually need to cast out. And so we've both been trying to work on how to think well of each other.
That's good.
With stuff.
That's really good. That's a conviction for me too.
Yeah.
Because I really love Brandon. He is Brandon is a really beautiful man, right? But if he does something, and this is what my marriage counselor told me, I make him that whatever he does. Does that make sense? So like if he was, I don't know, if he didn't put gas in my car, I don't know, because he put gas. I don't know, go to the gas station. Let's just say that, right? I will treat him like he did put gas in my car, if that makes any sense. And that becomes who he is versus a mistake that he made.
A moment.
Yeah, the moment becomes who he is. And so that's something that I've been constantly working on too, because I think too, just being so familiar with being treated good, not even just from my spouses, I would even say friends. Like we get so familiar with good, and a lot of people don't experience goodness. They just don't experience it. And I think you can just become so familiarized with having it good that you
become entitled.
You become entitled. Yeah. And it can be very toxic to your marriage. Yeah.
Because I mean, we're married to sinners. And we know that, but it's like a legitimate thing. Like you are a sinful human being.
Yeah.
And even being sinful doesn't even mean just sinfulness, but fragility. You're not gonna be perfect in every way. Like, you're not gonna be perfect in your communication. You're not gonna be perfect in your thoughtfulness. You're not gonna be perfect in your gentleness. You're not gonna be perfect in your kindness. You're not gonna be perfect in your consistency. But the hope I have is that because you know the Lord, at least you will grow.
Yeah.
At least you will ascend past the place that you are now, and vice versa. So I'm really messed up in a lot of ways. And so
we all are.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you are so transparent, you're so honest, you're so vulnerable, especially on you guys' podcast. And I think a lot of people, in terms of criticism, take things from it and say, well, she said this and that's why this is, like all these things. What have you learned about the art of discretion? Is there anything you regret sharing or like, so there was this moment, I don't know if Meg remembers, but I had a moment in one of my shows where I was sharing an experience. I still want you to answer this question, but it was something the Holy Spirit taught me in real time. I was sharing an experience where I was thankful for my mama that she didn't let me do what I wanted to do because I don't know what the outcome would have been as an adult. Well, after I watched it back, I didn't know how other people would perceive what I said. I didn't want anybody to feel offended or excluded. In that moment, the Holy Spirit said, you need to learn that every reflection is not to be shared publicly.
Yeah.
And so I cut it out the show.
Yeah.
I cut it out the show. And so have you learned the art of discretion? It's something I'm learning.
Yeah, because especially as my platform has increased, there are way more eyes, critical eyes, but also young eyes that I'm always mindful of. And there's also a sense where it's like, some stuff's supposed to stay in the room. Some stuff's supposed to stay in the living room. Some stuff is reserved for people that actually know you and love you. And some stuff ain't for everybody else. And so, for example, even probably the second year of the podcast, because we've been podcasting 6 or 7 years now, but maybe the second year, we wanted to have a conversation about sex. Because it was like, this is a topic that is in the Bible, that is in lives. We need to talk about it. But I felt like this pause that we should not have the conversation because, and I told Preston this, he agreed. I was like, we're so honest that we're going to tell too much of our business. we're just too honest. Like that's our temperament. And so maybe we shouldn't have this conversation yet until we can learn how to develop wisdom and discretion in what we say. And so we did not have the conversation for a few years until we knew how to just like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to say what I'm saying. So yeah, I think I'm always thinking about what is edifying, what is useful, what needs to be said, what needs to be withheld. And I'm thankful that we have editing. Because if you say too much, you can cut that thing out and move along.
Yeah. Have there been moments where you were the one being critical toward a person or idea and later realized you saw it all wrong? What has that moment taught you?
I'm pretty sure I experience that often. Because the Lord was actually talking to me a couple weeks ago about how when Paul says, I regard no man according to the flesh, and pairing that with we see in the mirror dimly, where it's like you never fully see the whole picture. You think you do, but you never see the whole picture about people, about problems, about processes. Like you should just always have some type of humility when it comes to your assessments. And so I think I can't name a particular situation because I know it happens all the time, particularly with Preston. I am always judging motives, always assuming the words. So he's like, nah, I didn't answer your phone because I was fishing. It's like, oh, I thought you felt away. It's like, he didn't feel away. That's you projecting your own trauma and your abandonment onto this man's mood. And that's not accurate. So I
love how you read yourself, Jackie.
I got to, I have to. I'm so unwell. I have to be very critically. And some of that is the more critical you are of yourself, the more critical you are of people. And so me being hyper reflective about my own heart makes me a person who is able to serve people well because I can dissect all the stuff. But it also means it can make me self-centered and it can make me full of shame. Because if I'm always thinking about myself, then I'm always thinking about myself. You know?
That's
and so
good.
if I'm always thinking about myself, there's a sense where even my assessments are self-centered and not other-centered. And so I don't know. I just think we need humility to say, you might be discerning accurately, and yet your accuracy is never perfect. Period. It's really that simple.
That's good. Yeah. I feel like you are so wise. I don't know what your relationship was like with your mom, but you mentioned having to be something that you don't have a blueprint for. But who raised you, girl? 'Cause they did good.
My mother was a good mother.
Okay.
She was a single mother. She was working. She was busy. I think something my mother trained me to do that I will always appreciate is she let me be curious. Like I just asked a lot of questions growing up, and she would set a timer, and she was like, "You can ask me whatever you want until 7 p.m. and then we got to stop with the questions." But she gave me space to ask questions. She gave me a lot of books. She gave me encyclopedias, like because we had tablets, so I would just be reading and learning.
Encyclopedia?
Yeah, I literally would read the encyclopedia.
We're the last generation that know anything about those.
It was because it's just a whole Rolodex of facts.
Yeah,
but a lot of my insight is my father, who did not raise me, which is really intriguing to me. Because anytime I talk to anybody about him, he wasn't a Christian, but they would say how he had a lot of depth, a lot of insight, a lot of wisdom. And so I think he shows up in me, even if he didn't raise me, which is funny how genetics work.
Genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
So this is my question to you, because even like when you're talking to me, this is our first conversation. I always feel like you second guessing yourself. Something wrong with me?
I think it's perfectionism.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to be right. I want to be sharp. I want to be strong. And I think I've become more insecure. The more my platform has grown, the more insecure I've become.
Do you think the criticism has made you insecure?
Maybe. I think there's a level of paranoia that everything I say will be watched and picked apart. And so there is this temptation to be perfect so that I could at least eliminate or hinder some of the criticism.
So, I don't like it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But I said I don't like it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm really mindful of my sentences and my words, but I'm not gonna lie either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel
it's
that.
like I'm gonna tell the truth.
So you mentioned you needed therapy. Have you started therapy?
It's hard to find a therapist that doesn't follow me.
Wait, you mean like on social media?
Yeah. So they already have preconceived notions of who I am. I can't come to the table with a blank slate, which is it's
It's
uncomfortable.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all are, and not all. I can't generalize. I ain't met every therapist in the world, but most of the Christian therapists I've entertained, they are aware of me already. And
Would you go to a therapist that is not Christian?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, I want somebody with the book smarts and the Holy Spirit. You gotta have
Feel
both,
you.
because I need you to discern when we need to go another route. I need you to be able to listen to God as you counsel me.
So now people are unfollowing you.
Who, therapist? No, I asked. Like my last one, it was in the intake. I said, "Are you aware of my ministry?" And she said, "Yeah, I am. I used to follow you." Da 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 da. But then the second or third session we had, we went through this really traumatic thing. I'm crying and all the stuff, and then she spent 10 minutes talking about my merch and my this and my that, and it just felt uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't. Yeah, so I want therapy. I really do want to get back into it. I just don't know how to. It doesn't feel safe
You want it to be,
Yeah.
It feels better with someone who does not know you.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I wouldn't even. I don't know what I would do with therapy with somebody who knows me.
Correct.
But I felt safest. You're absolutely right, because the person, that was the thing, that she didn't know me. Yeah, that's good. When the world is loud and you start to question, am I being heard? Am I being seen correctly? What does God say back to you? And what censors you?
Say that one more time.
When the world is loud.
I was listening to your inflections. I wouldn't listen to the question. Go ahead.
When the world is loud and you start to question, am I being heard? Am I being seen correctly? What does God say back to you?
I mean, I go to the Bible.
Go to it, Jackie.
I don't know the exact verse, but I think one is what Hagar calls God in Genesis, where she calls him Elroy, the God who sees. And I think I have to lean into the reality that God has eyes. I have to believe the reality that God has ears, and that God has compassion. So it's not just that he sees, it's not just that he hears, but he cares about what he sees. He cares about what he hears. Because if I don't lean into that reality, I won't be a good person. Because I have to say this, I feel like my ability to show up in the world well hinges on me believing that God is for me. If I do not believe that God is for me, I'm not going to love people. I'm not going to be able to withstand the attacks. I'm not even going to be honest. That's not to say I'm a lie. It's to say I'm a withhold. Because it was like when I had to reckon with the fact that my transparency is being used against me, what does that naturally make me want to do? Shut up and stop talking. You know what I'm saying? But it's like maybe the Lord's put me on the earth for such a time as this to show people that, like, you're not, I don't know, you're not going to win. Like, I feel like the enemy wants to use people so that he can win and shut my mouth.
Yeah.
And we went to this wedding in December. It wasn't a wedding. It was like what you call it? Vow renewal. And this lady was there. She's married to, I ain't gonna say it. She married to an actor. So that's why I caught me off guard. And she didn't know who I was. She had not a clue, because she in LA with all the Hollywood people. And she was like, the Lord is showing me you. And she was like, I see you like in a conference in front of a bunch of women, and it's like you have like a lion in your throat, and like the devil wants to quiet the lion. Like he wants to quiet the lion. But that's when I was going through wanting to be quiet. And so what motivates me out of silence, what motivates me into transparency, it can't just be y'all. Ministry and people is not sufficient to make me obedient. It has to be that God loves me regardless of if y'all don't or not. And so I think knowing that he sees, knowing that he hears, and knowing that he cares, that's the thing that anchors me when nobody else does. That's the answer to your question.
I love it, Jackie.
I'm glad
And
you
I
did.
love you because you're not a tough cookie. You think you a tough cookie, but you're not a
I
tough
know I'm
cookie.
not. That's why I got to protect myself from y'all Negroes. I know I'm not.
You would not be smiling at these
I
people.
am very fragile.
I appreciate you so much. I can't leave this conversation without recounting Acts 2:42 because I was there.
Mhm.
I think what you and Meg did was something everybody in the room they will talk about for the rest of their lives. Like it impacted them in some way. And this could probably sound pretty funny to you at surface level, but y'all didn't raise no offering
Of
at
course
the
not.
conference. And I thought that was interesting. That was something that I told Brandon. There was no offering. I just appreciated y'all like honoring people. And when I say that, I mean like, because don't get me wrong, like I'm all forgiving. I love to like give. Like that's just really who I am. But what I really loved about the conference is you guys didn't just honor the mission. You guys honored the people.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like oftentimes when I'm not opposed to anybody raising an offering. Y'all, I'm minding my business. Y'all mind y'all business. I wasn't at your. I don't even know your business before you start getting mad at me. I'm not your friend. You do not know me. I don't know you. Anyway, at conferences sometimes in these functions where you pay for a ticket, you still end up
paying for something, which might be just bad stewardship.
So say it again.
That might be bad stewardship.
Maybe bad stewardship. Might be.
Because we got to hyper clarify. It might be.
Yeah. So speaking of, I'm glad you said stewardship. What are some things that you learned as a leader with not just that conference, because you've done so many things that have helped you, because this is really important to me with Friend Fusion, teaching people to value and honor other people.
Yeah.
What are some key principles that you've employed in your life to help you really honor people?
Yeah. 1 John has been a big book for me, because being someone who's been wounded and introverted, all of that together can make me self-centered, self-protective, which can lend itself to me not loving people well, right? And so I have to think about 1 John a lot. When you read 1 John, he talks about love, how the Lord is love, and how you can't be over here saying you love the Lord who you can't see and you don't love the people you do see. And I think I have this conviction that the Lord does not care if my theology is solid and my practice with people is off. He just does not care. And I also look at ministry, particularly a conference. I look at ministry as a form of hospitality and generosity. So how do you create, I think we think about hospitality like our house, but how do you create a space that lends itself to people receiving the gospel, right? And so that means you take care of them, meaning the registration need to be a certain kind of way, meaning like what you got in these bags that's going to make them smile and make them happy and feel seen and loved and cared for. When you see people, look them in their face. You know what I'm saying? I'd repeat their name back to them. What's your name? Erica. Oh, hey, Erica, nice to meet you. Like all of that stuff creates space for the gospel to be received. Because if we don't practice that level of care, I think it hinders what it is that we're trying to do. So I think Megan walks in hospitality, I think, in stronger ways than me. And so I think our partnership for Acts 2:42 really lended itself to people feeling seen and heard and taken care of. Now, albeit y'all waited a long time outside and stuff like that. We ain't never did it before. We only had 6 staff? 6 staff with 7,000 people is crazy. But I think we did the best we can.
2,000. How many people Jesus fed with the fish and 5 loaves of bread?
Well, 5 plus kids and women, so close to 10,000.
Yeah, that's what y'all did.
Yeah, we tried. We tried, but we had a good team. It wasn't all just us. We had a good team. We had good leadership. We had good discipleship, good guidance, good prayer, and so it really was a collective team effort that I think the Lord just blessed because He wanted to.
Jackie, you cannot leave Friend Fusion without telling me what you've forgiven, what you're looking forward to, and a friend that you highlight right now in this season who is in some way impacting your life in a way you couldn't have expected.
You said what I've forgiven?
What are you forgiving?
So like somebody I forgave?
Or so, like whatever situation you think.
Let me think. I'll be struggling with that.
Where you're working to forgive.
That's a great.
Okay, let's do that.
Forgiveness is a process, Jesus.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I think I'll say what I know I need to forgive.
Okay.
That's what I'll say. I know I need to forgive the people in my life who deeply disappointed me.
Mm.
Because disappointment feels like such a weak word, but it actually is really deep.
No, it really is.
To have high or even moderate expectations of people because of history, and for them not to live up to that can be hurtful. And I know the way I'm built, if I'm always protecting myself, then that means I take that disappointment as I create a strategy around it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, you do this, therefore I'm gonna do this, and da 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 da. And I don't know. I'm trying to learn. Like, I don't know if that's the way of love. I think some of that is wise, and I think some of that is flesh. And so I'm trying to practice that. So I think I need to forgive everyone who's disappointed me, knowing that I disappoint the Lord all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What was the second one?
You got me thinking, because disappointment, I've had to normalize disappointment because it is normal.
It is normal.
But I also feel like I'm really spoiled. Like, I have like the greatest people around me. I really do.
Yeah.
My relationships have been cultivated for over a decade.
Yeah.
So it's not often that I get like a no,
Yeah.
or I don't get disappointment.
Yeah.
I just don't. Like, we've shown up for each other for so long.
Yeah.
But I've had disappointments, and I've had to just remember that it's normal. And the first time I get a disappointment or a no, not to, again, make the moment the person.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm learning to honor even if we can't do life together anymore, I'm learning to honor what you've been to me, even if you can no longer be that to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that, because, you know, I don't need that. I've grown, you've grown, like, whatever. I'm learning to like take the good of the experience without making the experience now bad, because I feel like whatever decision you made was bad, because good people make bad decisions.
They do all the time.
Yeah. And I'm one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because disappointment is a educator. And so it's like some disappointments is like, no, you should stay over there. You should. But at the same time, we have to learn how to manage the disappointment and not sin. Right. So if the Bible says be angry, be disappointed, be affected, but don't sin. So how do I manage the disappointment in such a way where I'm moving with you wisely, yet at the same time I'm honoring God? That's the tension.
Yeah.
Because our default is to be angry and sin. But the Lord's like, feel your feelings, but don't sin against me as you do.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the task before everybody that exists on the planet Earth.
I asked you, what are you forgiving? You've told me. I asked you, what are you now looking forward to in terms of connection and relationship? Maybe a lack of criticism in moving forward?
Nah, that's gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Love waxes cold. So the criticism will increase.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I'll take that with me today. That's of all the things you've said. It is what it is.
You can't be a Christian and expect not to be criticized. That's a really unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
And if you love people, you have to be willing to do the hard thing, because your reward is not praise. That's not your reward. Your reward is in heaven, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. And so that's where my eyes are. And truthfully, a lot of people want criticism because they want attention. So some people say stuff and poke at bears out of, like, some people don't negative, positive attention. That's what they want. I am never trying to draw criticism. I am trying to help people see Christ. And in helping people see Christ, their idols are being provoked. And if your idols are being provoked, you have two options. You can repent or you can resist. And the easiest way to resist is to demonize the messenger. That's all that's happening. It's okay. So I'm chilling.
What's been your greatest feat in terms of the criticism? Like, what was it for you that said, you know what, that's not my question? What made you say I'm taking a sabbatical? Maybe it wasn't the criticism. Maybe it was just feeling overwhelmed, all the things. What's the difference between pre-sabbatical and post-sabbatical, Jackie?
I'm more focused.
Okay.
focused on my family, my children, the Lord. I don't feel as tethered to people's opinions of me
I love that.
as I was. And that's something that has to be stewarded. And so, yeah, I feel fuller. I think by December I was empty. Yeah, I was empty and I wasn't in a good place. And so now I feel more stable.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like I'm really happy for you.
Yeah.
All right, you got to highlight the friend. It's friend fusion. What friend? Why that friend? And how have they impacted you?
Can I say 2 friends?
Sure.
Because I don't got many.
You don't smile at people, number one, girl.
Yeah,
But anyway.
I don't got a lot of friends. I'd probably say Preston first. Because he started as my friend and then we became married. And I think there's seasons where you lose that, where you just become business partners, you become parents, you become, you just day to day got to work through the stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I think I'm continuing to embrace the reality that he's been my greatest friend. Because he's seen the brokest, worst, tragic, ratchet part of me, and he's loved me.
Yeah.
You know, he's had so many opportunities to not leave. Like, I mean, anybody could leave. We could both leave.
Right.
But I think he's consistently decided to care for me, to love me, to embrace me, and so that's marriage, but that's also friendship. And then obviously Megan. I think Megan has been the friend that I wanted, you know, somebody who loves me.
Yeah,
like
just Jackie.
Yeah, like not what I bring to the table, not what the world sees me as and stuff like she's probably the only friend that I have where I'm my most authentic with.
Yeah.
And I think that means a lot to me, to have space where I can just not have to perform. So, yeah.
Well, you ain't perform with me because you ain't give me no hug. Don't leave me out.
Yes. We're going to throw that in the sea of forgetfulness at some point.
You mean throw it in there?
Some point.
I'm not, Jackie.
Some point we got to let it go.
I'm not letting it go. No,
that's that vengeance.
So funny.
Yes.
But I appreciate you so much, Jackie. And I do share the same sentiments with Meg. Meg is just Meg. I feel like in this, the more I grow and evolve in this whole, it's kind of crazy to say industry. For ministry, in some way to be industry.
It's an industry.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I've experienced quite a few things. I wrote a book titled The Mean Girl Manual because I experienced a lot of that, just stuff. But like people like Meg, they just make the world they just make you just feel like I could just be trend. Sometimes I call Meg and I just, you know, and it just feels so safe. You know what I mean? So yes, we do love you, Meg. Sometimes you can push it, but you know, you are a girl. Yeah, to everybody watching, I hope this episode has blessed you. Would you like to leave anything with people who may be walking through criticism, Jackie?
I guess let criticism do its work in you. Criticism has trained me as a leader and as a servant in a really special way, where I know better how to serve people because of the things that people have pointed out in me. You know, I think at any point where you resist and reject all criticism, you might be resisting and rejecting God's hand. God does use criticism to prune us and to disciple us and to develop us. And any good leader, any good servant needs to be okay with being told what's wrong. The Bible says, in a multitude of counselors, there is much safety. The Bible says, let a righteous man correct me, for this oil for my head. Let me not reject it. And so I think I would say, let it teach you, but also don't let it crush you. Identify the scheme of the evil one in the criticism and what it is that he's trying to keep you from doing, and decide to trust and believe God anyway. Because at some point, we're all going to die and we're going to stand before God and he's going to say, if you've been faithful, well done. You know what I'm saying? And I think when you get that well done, it makes all the criticism that was a light affliction. It did not compare to the glory that would be revealed when we see him. And so that's my framework. And I feel like everybody that's faithful should do the same.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, come give me a hug.
Okay.
Scoot over.
Anyone do a high five?
Come on. It's Freedom Fusion. Come on, Jackie. We have to tell them bye together.
I want to rebel against this so bad.
Come on.
And now you're manhandling me.
Come on.
With your Express shirt.
Come on. Screaming. She said with my Express shirt brand.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
Y'all look, Jackie is hugging. She's very friendly. Isn't she?
Oh, you.
She's very friendly. I'm going to scream when I watch this back. Jackie, tell our friends, hey, smile at them. Jackie, thank you for letting me be cringe with you. I love you guys. I'll see you back on the next episode of Free Fusion. Whatever you do this
week. You made me
week,
want a cigarette or something.
Smile at somebody. I'll see y'all back on the next episode of Free Fusion. Bye, friends.
Fusion.